do you say there, lovers of nostalgia? Alright, so it's no secret that some of the biggest moneymakers in Hollywood these days are the remakes,
certain as the sun,
reboots, and spinoffs.
Gracias, the legend will never die!
Folks have been complaining about this for years, and I don't want to bore you by further lamenting about the entertainment industry's lack of imagination. In fact, I would go as far to say that I think this complaint is just slightly overblown. We still get original stories, and really, isn't it up to us as the audience to seek out and consume new material? You know, supply and demand and all that? I can't lie though, I'm certainly guilty of being a nostalgia hound. Season 6 of Cobra Kai, let's go! But I'm not here to preach about the need for original storytelling, nor am I really here to complain about all the remakes and reboots. Instead, I thought I'd make a suggestion that I don't see too often. See, I'm in a group chat with a few other movie lovers, and one of my friends in the chat sent this promotional image of the upcoming Stephen King adaptation, The Monkey, directed by Osgood Perkins. At first glance of the image, another friend thought it might be a remake of the George Romero cult classic, Monkey Shines. And if you don't know about Monkey Shines, well then.
Let me tell you about it, stud.
Okay, it's this insane movie where a man is hit by a car and is left a quadriplegic. And his scientist friend is running experiments where he injects this monkey with some sort of brain serum that makes her super intelligent. So the monkey acts as the handicapped man's personal assistant, but then she gets overprotective, forms some sort of weird psychic bond with him, and starts killing off those who have wronged him. Yep, I'd say that premise is pretty bananas. Boo! Yeah, I know, it's crazy stuff. But you know what? I'd be down for a remake. I mean, some of the more ridiculous elements would have to be left out. I think the brain serum thing is a little stupid, and you could probably just say that there's this new program where primatologists are training monkeys to be caregivers. Monkeys are already really smart, and they clearly trained the original monkey to do all the stuff she did in the movie. There's no need for the experimentation. To me, this feels like a project Blumhouse would take on. Jason, get in on this, and feel free to use my suggestions. It's on me. But hey, I'm not here to pitch just one remake of an obscure cult classic. I'm suggesting this be a whole new avenue Hollywood follows. A lot of these movies had really interesting premises, but maybe didn't deliver exactly what they were aiming for. And while their fan bases may not be massive, they're not insignificant. I do think this would work especially well for horror movies, since they're already notorious for low budgets yielding significant profits. Maxine, I'm counting on you to finish your trilogy strong. Anyway, for my next brilliant idea, let's take a look back at some real old school horror. I've made it known that I'm a big fan of the classic Universal movies, and there's one I have in mind from 1932 that has A24 written all over it. It's a classic called The Old Dark House, and it's actually not a monster movie. It's about a few groups of people traveling through the countryside who get caught in a thunderstorm and have to stay the night in, well, an old dark house. The house is owned by this weird and creepy family who keep these cryptic secrets from their guests and just act unnaturally.
You will have to stay here. The misfortune is yours, not ours.
No beds. They can't have beds.
As my sister hints, there are, I'm afraid, no beds.
This is why I think A24 is suited for this type of material. I would give the director's job to either Ari Aster or Robert Eggers. Aster is always good for creating a surreal, uncomfortable atmosphere that could really leave us feeling uneasy in the big house, while Eggers is really good at getting those eccentric weirdo performances out of his actors. Of course, this is all just wishful thinking, but a boy can dream, can't he? But alright, I've talked a lot about horror movies so far, and my last video was a whole dedicated review of a scary movie. And I'm not going to be pigeonholed into being just a horror guy.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Of course not. Some of my favorite people on the internet are exclusively horror critics. But back to my point. I actually think one of the most successful examples of what I'm talking about is more in the action sci-fi area. Do you remember Judge Dredd from 1995? The adaptation of the comic book character with Sylvester Stallone? It was a bomb with critics and barely made over its budget, and no one gives it much of any thought these days. But they rebooted the character with a new movie in 2012, and, okay, while still not exactly box office gold, this adaptation garnered a lot more praise from critics and audiences. Now, in fairness, we could probably look at this example as being more a new adaptation of the original comic, rather than a reboot or remake of the Stallone movie. But I still think it shows that there could be an appetite for things like this. So what's my suggestion in the realm of action movies? How about a new adaptation of Steel? I mean, the Shaq movie from 1997 is basically a parody of itself and barely has anything to do with the original character. How are you going to make a Steel movie with no ties to Superman? That would be like trying to make a Catwoman movie with no Bat, and I'm not even going to finish that joke. Low-hanging fruit. But yeah, in the case of Steel, who knows? With James Gunn at the helm and that new Superman reboot in the works, maybe Steel could one day make an appearance. That is if superhero fatigue doesn't continue its plague. So look, my point is this. Halloween and A Nightmare on Elm Street were near perfect horror movies and didn't need to be remade. Indiana Jones' Last Crusade probably should have stayed his last crusade. But a certain movie about a trained monkey taking its directives too far could possibly be a refreshing change of pace. Well, I mean, as refreshing as a remake possibly could be. And a certain engineer building a mechanized suit to mirror Superman's abilities might be an interesting new idea to explore in the world of comic book movies. Like I said though, I'm not here to complain about all the reboots. You know I love the Creed movies, and I also really liked the first Omen. And of course I still want to see entirely fresh and new stories too. But if we are gonna bank on nostalgia, maybe the cult classics could have something to offer as well. But yeah, Season 6 of Cobra Kai, baby! Kreese is out! Final tournament! We're finishing the story, let's go! I've been Kenny Steps. Take it easy, and keep stepping into the movies.